President, we must not allow a mine shaft gap.
Sir, I have a plan. Monsieur hasn't walked.
Originally set for November the 23rd, 1963, the first screening of Dr. Strangelove had to be postponed and the film was re-released in late January of 1964. Due to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, Kubrick was forced to change a release date as he did not want to spark up the controversy, nor show disrespect considering his film was a highly political satire of elements of black comedy. Although one of the main themes of the film is sexual frustration, Kubrick was afraid that the audience would not share his vision and it would go unnoticed, which later turned out to be true.
Jack, I'd love to come, but what's happened, you see? The string in my leg's gone.
Loosely based on Peter George's novel Red Alert, this film tells a story about a nuclear conflict between the Soviet Union and the United States of America. It follows 3 different sets of characters on 3 different locations, all dependent upon each other's actions. The audience is first introduced to one of the 3 characters played by Peter Sellers, a British RAF exchange officer, Lionel Mandrake, who takes orders from General Jack D. Ripper to put the base on alert and issue a wing attack plan R to the patrolling aircraft. All of the aircrafts commence an attack flight on Russia and disable their radios so no one can contact them from that point on. After finding out that no such orders were issued by the Pentagon, Mandrake tries his best to stop the paranoid ultranationalist General Ripper. In the meantime, at the Pentagon's war room, the President of the USA, Merkin Muffley, once again played by Peter Sellers, is trying to figure out how to stop a nuclear catastrophe that is about to happen. He is surrounded by the country's best officers and leading men, accompanied by the Russian ambassador and a former Nazi scientist, Dr. Strangelove. The third set happens to be inside of a moving aircraft headed towards Russia with only one goal, dropping the bomb.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Produced, directed, and co-written by Stanley Kubrick, Dr. Strangelove remains one of the director's greatest achievements, as well as one of the best films ever made according to AFI's list from 2001. But what makes Dr. Strangelove stand out from the rest? A terrific performance by Peter Sellers, who plays 3 different characters at the same time? The incredible amount of thought, time, and effort put into set design? The fascinating aerial shots, montages of bomb explosions, or was it in fact the carefully chosen soundtracks as well as neat sound recording and design? The answer is all of the above. To learn more about the making of Dr. Strangelove, I'll do a complete deconstruction of the following scene. I'll split it into 4 sections: camera work, set design, lights, and sound.
The surface of the earth will be as dead as the moon.
Come on, that's damn ridiculous. Our studies show that even the worst fallout is down to a safe level after 2 weeks.
You've obviously never heard of cobalt thorium-G.
Well, what about it?
The next 40-second sequence is from the film featuring George C. Scott and General Buck Turgidson, and Peter Bull as a Soviet ambassador, Alexei Disodesky. The two are having a discussion about the impact of the Doomsday Machine, a Russian weapon designed to end the existence of the world as we know it.
Which will encircle the earth for 93 years.
What a load of commie bull. I mean, after all.
First things first, cinematography. Despite the fact that colour film was introduced way before and at the time of the making of this film was considered Hollywood standard, Kubrick decided to make Dr. Strangelove using only black and white film. Some say this was to add to the artistic value of the picture, claiming Kubrick wanted to achieve the look of newsreel, making the film seem more realistic and convincing the audience, but such happenings are in fact a possible outcome of the Cold War. Others argue that this was to cut down on production costs. Either way, the making of Dr. Strangelove marked the last time Stanley Kubrick would ever use black and white format. Director of photography Gilbert Taylor used a Mitchell BNC with spherical lenses and a 35mm black and white film reel, which allowed him to play with lights and shadows, resulting in staggering images. Taylor's signature style when working on films are high contrast, low-key lighting, compositions that favour depth, and minimal camera movement. As one may have noticed, the entirety of the sequence is in fact one long shot. It opens with an ultra-wide shot of the war room as the characters are sitting at the round table in the background. Once Alexei starts walking, the camera slowly moves towards him. General Turgidson is walking behind, and once he finally catches up, the camera stops, and we see a static medium shot of both characters. As Alexei starts walking again, the cameras move back to the starting point. The camera movement is quite smooth and it strictly follows actor choreography. Using a tripod dolly, the cameraman made two simple moves of pushing the camera towards the actors and pulling it back away from them. The movement of the camera symbolises General Turgidsson's and Ambassador Alexei's attempt of solving the crisis, but just as they find a solution, another problem shows up, and we're back at the beginning, hence the camera is moved back to a starting point. Actors represent two sides of conflicts, Russia and USA. Just when it seems that America will be able to stop the doomsday machine, Russia drops a new fact and marches towards the camera, taking up the majority of the frame, and therefore is seen as the obvious winner. The filming of Dr. Strangelove took part at Shepperton Studios near London. The set was built and designed by Ken Adams, who later won a BAFTA for his contribution to the film. This sequence is set inside the Pentagon's war room. More than 150 tradesmen were needed to build the set. The size of the war room is precisely 130 feet long, 100 feet wide and 35 feet high. The table in the centre of the room is 22 feet in diameter. The idea behind it is to have 26 government officials look like they are playing a game of poker instead of discussing a nuclear war. In the sequence, the table can be seen in the background and takes up the majority of the shot. As the camera moves, we are more focused on the big maps on the wall, showing the movement of the USA's war aircrafts and a map of the Soviet Union territory. The floor is made out of a black reflective surface, and it adds to the entire black and white, newsreel look-alike feel of the film. Kubrick is known for using the built-in set lighting. The majority of the light in this scene comes from the built-in set lights as well. The rounded ceiling light above the table are in this case the main source of light, as well as the boards in the background. Another source of light comes across as one that could have been set far away from the actors and the camera, as it appears soft and there is little to no difference in contrast as actors move around. The way the set and lights were set up allows actors a dynamic exchange between good and evil, as one moment they are seen in light, and in another one their face is covered by shadow. There is no soundtrack to this scene, nor special sound effects, but what is noticeable is how simple and realistic the sound is. As the sequence starts, the actors are far away from the camera, and so is the sound, so to say. The dialogue seems distant, and as the characters walk closer to the camera, it becomes loud and
Safe level
clear.
after 2 weeks.
You've obviously never heard of Cabal Thorium-G.
Well, what about it?
Cabal Thorium-G has a radioactive half-life of 93 years. If you take, say, 50 H-bombs in the 100 megaton range and jacket them with Cabal Thorium-G, when they are exploded, they will produce a doomsday shroud.
This gives us the idea that the microphones were set closer to the camera, and there were no extra microphones used near the table or on the actors. The size of the set made the dialogue echo across the room. The sounds itself, as well as astonishing cinematography, use of light and shadow play, terrific performance by actors guided by one of the greatest directors and creative minds that has ever lived, are what make this film stand out amongst thousands of others.